Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Marty O'Donnell Show. This week is part 2 of my really fun, interesting interview with Mike Hill, my guest, who's a fantastic artist and creator and writer and thinker about storytelling. We talked about AI, and this week we're going to get right into a fun chat GPT prompt where I ask it about hair drying. Okay, so that'll be fun. And we get into an old 1959 Twilight Zone episode. It's just a really, really interesting conversation. I had a blast with Mike Hill. So enjoy. One of the first things I sent you, which I think it'd be fun to talk about now, is this prompt that I gave my chatbot, and I asked you to do it too. And so I'm going to just read it out loud here. Okay, here it is. And everybody should just give your chatbot this following question. Your hair is 100% wet at 9:45 a.m. Your hair is 100% dry at 10:30 a.m. What is the one question that needs to be answered in order to determine how dry your hair is at 10 a.m.? Now, of course, this is the kind of question that I come up with when I'm in the shower. And I came up with it
because you still have hair. Yeah,
because I still have hair, exactly. But I came up with it in the shower as sort of an example to myself of it was just a weird little thought process that I had. Like if I asked this question of somebody, and they would get points for just guessing the right answer, but they would get half the points if they got the right answer after asking one question that would clarify. So that was my little game. And I tried it out on several friends and my family and everybody else. And by the way, the humans fall into the same trap that AI does, which was interesting. And I had you do this and ask your chatbot the same question. And so what I'm curious about is, like, once you told it, no, that's not the right question to ask, and then you told it what the right question was, what was its response? What did it say to you?
I think I told you it was bizarre, and it's not the first time it's done this.
Okay.
It took my voice prompt, which was in English,
and
put it up on screen in fluent Welsh, and Welsh is a different language, and responded in Welsh. And then when I told it that it had answered in Welsh, it said in Welsh, I didn't respond in Welsh.
Oh my goodness.
And it's done this before when I give it questions that it just doesn't want to answer. It just answered in Welsh. But the answer that it gave me initially, the one that the one that led me to ask it what you said, which is like, why did you give me the wrong answer? Yeah. It said the one question that needs to be answered is, does your hair dry at a constant rate between 9:45 a.m. and 10:30 a.m.? Why this matters. If yes, then you can calculate the dryness linearly. From 9:45 to 10:30 is 45 minutes. 10 a.m. is 15 minutes in. That's 1/3 of the way, etc. But I think I think it's a question that is. I think it's a question that could. What was your formal answer to that you took as the metric?
Well, the thing that of course, I'm in the shower, so this is why it is occurring to me. I thought this is the kind of human mistake that when tragedies happen, it's almost always because of something that people assume, which is why I also said to my chatbot and to ChatGPT, I tried it on several different ones, when they got the wrong answer, which means they got the wrong question to ask. They couldn't figure out what was the right. If they could have this question answered, they could come up probably with the right answer to the initial question, which is the thing you should be understanding about the way I posited the question was, I never said when I started drying my hair. So what you need to say is, when did you start drying your hair? And because otherwise, you will make this assumption. And when I said that to the chat bots, they all said, "Oh, yes. Oh, that's a brilliant thing. Oh, you're brilliant." I mean, they immediately start sucking up to me, which cracks me up. But they're like, "Yes, yes, I see what my problem was. I made the assumption that the reason you gave me 2 points of data, 9:45 and 10:30, was I assumed that you started drying your hair at 9:45. And now, what I find interesting about that is most human beings make that same assumption from my little trying this out on people. Most people think, oh, this is a trick question. Your hair doesn't dry linearly. It seems like it should be 33 1/3%, but maybe it's not because blah, blah, blah. They need to know the scientific reason. But what everybody's assuming is that I gave those 2 times as a starting time and an ending time. But there's nothing inherent, there's nothing in that scenario that does that. And I was really kind of hoping that the, AI bots, or whatever we call them, the AI chat people, would see immediately, I don't have enough information. What I really needed to know is, when do you start drying your hair? Because I didn't start drying my hair until 10:15, and I have a blow dryer and it takes me 15 minutes to dry my hair. But that's not the important part. The important part is that's the missing piece of information.
Showing off.
Well,
it takes me 3 minutes.
I know, you don't even have to. A towel, boom, done.
Just shake my head like a dog. Dry.
But what I'm saying is, these are the kind, when I look at catastrophic events, it's almost always because human beings have made assumptions and they miss one really important piece of data that nobody asked a question about. So I went back. The space shuttle.
It's like iRobot, right? Like iRobot, they give the rules of how a robot should self-govern, and they don't realize that the rule never harm a human. It will eventually interpret as, I must imprison humans because they harm each other, and my job is to protect them from harm.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, oh, circular logic kind of thing.
Yes. And to me, it's like, if we're going to start relying on AI to be better than humans, which is why I went back to the AI, I said, okay, now, if I asked you to think like Richard Feynman, who's one of the most brilliant physicists of all time, and they're like, oh, yes. And then it goes through this whole long explanation about like how, he thought outside the box, and he wouldn't have been fooled by these 2 parameters, and he would have gotten it. And I'm like, well, why didn't you get it? Like, you're the AI. You should have seen the flaw in the fact that there's these 2 points of data, but you made an assumption you shouldn't have made. And my AI chatbot is like, oh, you're so right. I shouldn't have made that assumption. I apologize. And I'm like, oh, dang it. I can't talk to this thing. It's just sucking up to me the whole time. So my point is that I find it interesting. And when I started having a discussion with the AI, like, when do you think you will get to the point where you can think outside the box and not get fooled by, and it's not something that I'm intentionally trying to fool somebody, but like, if AI is going to be looking at points of data, and at this moment in time, it's making assumptions that could be very dangerous, right? It assumed something it should not have assumed. Just because I gave it these parameters, it assumed that 9:45 to 10:30 was a full cycle of hair drying, which I never said. And I'm wondering, like, when are we going to have reliable AI that is better than humans and won't make those kind of mistaken assumptions? Because as we know, humans make assumptions all the time that are not right. And I'm like, okay, well, the good part is at least AI is similar to humans, but I want it to get better than humans so we can rely on it.
I guess it might just be a function of, because assessing the parameters of what you should and should not assume is a very subjective thing, because, well, not because, I don't know, but I don't think AI can ever get to a point where it can get beyond failing in assumptions, because everything we ever do is an assumption, right? We probably, in fact, that is on some level a lowercase f on faith, which is that in every action you take, you can't have certainty about your understanding of the situation, or whether your intent and the outcome will be the same in nature or spirit. We're always simplifying the world based upon, like, for example, if you had set up a GPT with chat, so GPT is where you give chat a very comprehensive profile of who you are as a person, and you said, I am not Marty O'Donnell, composer of Halo, but I am in fact a highly complex logician who specializes in logical circular logic, and etc etc etc. And then you said, I want you to treat me as such from now on, and then you asked it that question, it would say, well, I have to assume that I need to really think about this before I answer. But if it just thinks this is Joe Blogs and he's asking me when my hair's going to be dry, it's not going to put Mensa onto its like team and be like, right, let's throw terabytes of processing data at the question. It's just going to give you like stock logic. Whereas I think if you were to tee it up so that it assumed that the question was not just standardized, then it would probably, like, I think we all do it, right? We all assume, we have to assume simplifications for everyday life, and even an AI has to do that. But see, unless you were the only user, and then every single bit of processing data would be like, let's interrogate this guy's life until we understand what this question means.
So for me, I know that, like, for example, people who get interviewed at Google, a lot of times they were just asked a bunch of sort of weird random questions, and what the interviewers are really looking for is like, how do you think? Like, how does this person we're interviewing, how do they process information? How do they think about things? And this to me was like, oh, I could see if somebody was just thinking out loud, they would say, well, if I asked, does your hair dry linearly? How would that help you? And then they would go, oh, that really doesn't help. But if I ask this other question, oh, that doesn't really help either. And I would love to hear them go through the process, like my daughter and my son-in-law did. And they went through it extensively, came up with, and they were discussing with each other different questions. And they would like, no, that doesn't help us get closer to the answer, which I was fascinated to watch them do that. And then my daughter said, "That's it. I'm going to ask ChatGPT," and she did. So that's when we started realizing that AI wasn't able to like, AI made the same mistakes, and it was like, my son-in-law, who's a programmer, he was like, "Well, does your hair dry linearly?" That's like, once you know that, then it should be easy. And I'm like, nobody seems to get the fallacy of the 2 points of information that you assume is the begin and the end point. And that's exactly what the chat bot said. It's like, I assumed mistakenly that you were giving me these 2 points as the beginning and end point. And I'm like, well then, but why are you as an AI making assumptions? Why aren't you digging deeper into it and asking, like, what am I assuming that could lead to the wrong conclusion? And for me, it's like, I don't want to see, hey, we used AI to help design this building, because there have been architects that are famous, buildings that have collapsed because really smart architects assumed one tiny little thing that should not have been assumed. Maybe the wind speed for the da-da-da-da.
Yeah, I remember the building in New York that didn't have corner support.
Exactly.
And then some student was like, dude, I've run simulations. This thing's going to collapse. You need to shore this building up.
And then they did. It's a great, you've seen the same documentary I saw. So that's what was in my head. It's like, there's almost always, in every catastrophe, there are usually like 3 points of things that happen that nobody assumed could ever happen simultaneously. 3 failures or more, like that nobody ever put that in the simulation. And I'll be happy when AI gets to the point where it's smarter than humans, in the sense that it will say, I'm not going to make these assumptions because I'm an AI and I understand.
I think what would be probably an interesting and maybe even humbling experience, and I don't know what it would say, but on the premise that you say that ChatGPT has neglected its responsibility to ask for what assumptions it should not take, if you asked for a comprehensive list of every assumption that it needs to question you on, I bet the list of assumptions that it's negated is infinite. because it could ask an infinity of assumptions of
right, which is why I said, what
did
is
you
the
use
one?
which brand of shower gel? Did you use shower gel? Did you use conditioner? What brand of hair conditioner? What
But see,
brand of
none
hair
of those
dryer?
things actually help you
Which
get closer.
humidity? Which humidity are you in?
But
Which area are
there's
you
only
in? Like,
one question that actually rises above all of them, which defeats the initial assumption. I wanted the AI to understand that there was an assumed begin and end point that was not explicit. Like, I wanted it to discover that. I wanted it to say, even if it said, did you start drying your hair at 9:45? I mean, if it had asked me that, because it was not explicit, right?
I think it's like
I wanted it to be able to tell from my language, which is, see, here's the thing. It's a large language model, right? But it has to be making like
but
smart, intelligent things out of language, and languages, it has ambiguities in it. And we as humans make assumptions all the time based on ambiguous language. And I want the computer to be smarter than that. So maybe I'm happy that it wasn't smarter, but I still don't want to depend on it now.
I guarantee you, if you made up a GPT profile and you gave it a very specific description that you are basically the reincarnation of Richard Feynman, and it needs to treat you as such, it would give you a list of such insane parameters as a response to your question that you'd be like, oh damn, I'm out of my depth now, like, because it's just like, this dude Marty is usually asking me what the recipe is for, like, bullet, coffee or whatever, or like asking me about like musical theories, and now he's asking me about hair drying. I don't care. Like, yeah, whatever. 45 minutes, dude. Like, it's like there's only so much time in the day, Marty.
Okay.
Like, ChatGPT's off solving like the biggest mysteries. But no, I agree with you.
It's too late for me, but somebody watching this can go and do the thing and let me know what sort of amazing conversation you had with your chatbot.
Well, I think we spoke about this. We did speak about this like a few weeks ago on Discord, just like briefly, that we were talking about the variability in chat's response, personality-wise, to users.
Yes.
And that in itself is a curious thing, that obviously it treats with different credibility your requests, and even the way that it responds to you is tailored. So I think it's obviously even assuming your character from your previous conversations, and that's how it dictates how it's going to respond to you. So it is eerie when you get two people.
It was taking me very lightly, apparently. Okay, I got it.
Because it is a funny old thing. Because I've had little things with friends where I'm like, right, let's all ask it the same question, and it gives like different responses, and
that's interesting.
It always massages my ego before it gives me an answer, which leads me to believe it's identified that I'm some extreme narcissist, which is probably fair, but.
Well, that leads me to my sort of one of my other examples that I want to talk about, and that is the Twilight Zone episode that I shared with you a few weeks ago. I saw this episode. I don't know why I was watching old Twilight Zone, Rod Serling Twilight Zones, but there was this episode called The Lonely. I don't know how much we're going to be able to get away with showing now, but if we do. Let's first just show the middle chunk. It's called, it's the middle piece, where essentially the setup is there's this guy on a prison planet, and somebody makes him happy by saying, you can have this woman robot that will keep you company. First he rejects her, and then she shows that she actually has feelings. And of course she looks exactly like a real woman. But he rejects her at first because he knows she's a robot. And then there's some really interesting writing in the middle of this. Let's show a little bit of this. Hope we don't get copyright struck.
Alicia's been with me now for 11 months. It's difficult to write down what has been the sum total of this very strange and bizarre relationship. Is it man and woman? Or man and machine? I don't really know myself. But there are times when I do know that Alicia is simply an extension of me. I hear my words coming from her, my emotions. The things that she has learned to love are those things that I've loved. I'm not lonely anymore. Each day can now be lived with. I love Alicia. Nothing else matters.
Okay. All right.
Sweet.
So, Mike, hopefully we just watched a little chunk of the middle section of this Twilight Zone episode. The part I loved was when the man said, "Hey, her name's Alicia. She's a robot." A robot. At somebody says robot at some point in this show. It's funny. But he says, she's been with me for 11 months now. It's just him and her. And he says, I realize that she's simply a reflection of myself. I hear my words coming back to me. I hear my emotions coming back to me through her. The things I love are the things she loves. And I thought, wow, that is so prescient. This was made in 1959. And it's essentially, like you just said, it's like, this chat bot has gotten to know you and your likes and dislikes. When it talks to me, I swear it's just trying to like make me feel good about myself. I just think it's interesting that in 1959, Rod Serling wrote this episode, and he came up with the sort of logical conclusion of artificial intelligence that is indistinguishable from a human being, and would actually cure somebody's loneliness by being such a reflection of who they are themselves. And this man actually recognizes that, yeah, is she simply a machine, or is there something more there? And of course, they do the trope, not the trope, because this is 59, right? I'm sure there was some cool sci-fi written before that have to do with artificial intelligence and robots and stuff. But he does the thing where, I don't believe you, you're just a machine. He grabs her by the arm and she goes, ow. And he goes, you have feelings. She goes, of course I have feelings. And he sort of throws her down, and she looks back up on him, and she's got tears coming down. And that's what melts him. That's what makes him give her a chance. And then we fast forward 11 months later, and he realizes how important she is to him. And now we're going to show, when you saw this, I think you said you saw it with your girlfriend. You guys watched it together.
Yeah.
What were you thinking at this point in this episode where it was like, oh, okay, she's an AI. She looks just like a human. Of course, she's a human actress. And he has now accepted her because she has feelings, but she's also a reflection of him.
For me, implicitly, I just sensed that there was tragedy afoot. Mm-hmm. In any way, shape, or form, just because there was implicitly the conceit that, like, it wasn't. Oh, no, actually, no. You know what? That's not quite fair. I knew there was tragedy afoot in the sense that there was a binary outcome in my mind, a binary outcome, which is that she does actually have feelings, and the tragedy is that we've made something that has feelings, and there's going to be some horrible outcome for her. Or she has no feelings, and the tragedy is that he's going to fall in love with something that can't love him back. Yeah, and that's tragic too. Right. But it's a different flavor of tragedy, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. That was those are my core assumptions about like where this could go. But the ending didn't actually fit into either of those, which was quite interesting.
Before we talk about that,
I won't mention the ending.
Let's actually now show just the ending bit. Hopefully we could show just the ending bit. What happens is the guy that gave him the robot to keep him company is now coming back saying, hey, you're free. You could go home, but we don't have room for Alicia. She cannot come with us. And so let's play the very, very ending of The Twilight Zone, 1959.
Alicia! 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 Alicia, show them. Talk to them, show them. Talk to them, Alicia. Show them. Alicia, show them.
I don't have any choice, Corey. I have no choice at all.
Corey?
No. No!
Corey. 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 Corey.
Corey. Corey. We've got to go now, Captain.
We will go now. Come on, Corey. Time to go home. It's all behind you now, Corey. It's all behind you. It's like a bad dream, nightmare. When you wake up, you'll be back on Earth. You'll be home.
Huh?
That's right. All you're leaving behind is loneliness.
I must remember that. I must remember to keep that in mind.
I was shocked. I was like, you are kidding me. The guy just pulls out a gun, shoots her in the face, which you're like, okay, he's the bad guy. He shoots her in the face, and we see her lying on the ground with like wires coming out of her face, which I think in 1959 was pretty shocking to see.
Pretty high tech VFX.
It was, yeah. It was, but the man who supposedly was, had a relationship with Alicia, it dawns on him like, yeah, she just is wires and machines. It wasn't real. It was fake. The important thing is me to go back home and be with real human beings. So hasta la vista, baby. She just, he just takes
I'm out
off.
of here. Yeah.
And that was an ending I just was not expecting.
No, me neither. Me neither. I wasn't expecting it because I guess it was like, because it's a short story and it's the 50s.
Yes.
It's a different value system and it's a short story format, which is like, both those things are not familiar,
right?
In terms of like conventional viewing. I just thought that there was going to be a more ambiguous ending, and it was refreshing that it was literally just like, now blow her face off and like it's all over. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. She's definitely a robot. Not a problem. Let's go. Like, and he really, it was really like the easiest breakup he's ever had. He was like, oh. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
But it is what is curious about it is that I loved the tonality of how it dealt with that theme, which is like it didn't over like dilute the whole thing into some really confusing, postmodern bloody, taking everything apart. It was just like, no, she's not like.
It was very. It was very black and white. It was just sort of like, oh, I've been deluding myself. And he sort of knew he was deluding himself, but I'm deluding myself for the last 11 months. She's a machine. There's the proof. Her face is blown off and there's wires out of it, even though she's still saying his name, which was horrible. But he's like, yeah, I guess I just need to go. I just need to move forward and go on from here because she's just a machine. And what was refreshing to me too was I thought for sure, like, the bad guy was going to blow her face off, and then he was going to kill that guy, or he was going to get killed.
Yeah,
or he was
there was
going to
be
stay
some
there
sort
anyway.
of twist.
There would be some, but no, it was actually the most logical conclusion. He came to his senses. She was a robot. She didn't exist. She doesn't have a soul. Maybe she seems like she feels things, but she's not real. And I thought, wow. Yeah. Ever since then, I think I gave you a bunch of stuff too that we could talk through, but I mean, you worked on Blade Runner, so you already know the idea of behind Blade Runner, which is so compelling, which is essentially what makes someone a machine and what makes someone a human, and are we just machines that have flesh and blood and blah 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 blah. Data from Star Trek, another like, as soon as Data could have feelings, he'd be just as human as a human. And then there's, Kubrick/Spielberg's version of the movie AI, which tugs at the heartstrings, and Ex Machina or whatever it is. Alex Garland, who also wrote the Halo screenplay, by the way, and Her, the movie Her. And there's so many modern treatments of this AI thing where once you get convinced that maybe there's human elements there, or they have feelings, or what makes us have any more right to exist than an android? Like, it all goes in the same direction. I swear, all the writers and sci-fi people and movie people end up in the same place. Like, you know, she's just as, it should be, she's just as has a right to life and existence as us humans do. And Rod Serling is like, no, she doesn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, give me another one that ends up with that same conclusion.
I'm trying to think of a movie or a story that sticks, quote unquote, sticks to its guns when it comes to that philosophy, and I don't think I can think of one. And ironically, it is incredibly refreshing because every other film tries to add nuance. The film that just goes bravado and just like, nope, blow the robot's face off. Oh, okay, cool, it's a robot. Let's go. Like it's actually really refreshing how blunt force trauma it is.
Yeah.
Because the thing that's coming to my mind, and I'll just spit it out because I like stream of consciousness. What I find interesting about that particular story, the Twilight Zone, is that generally speaking, when a film has like a motif of science fiction, like, oh, a guy goes into a relationship with a robot, it's usually, like, mythologically speaking, a metaphor. So like like when we talk about the pantheon
and
of the
it is
gods,
a mythological, right? I mean, it's the famous what's his name who does the statue? What's who does a statue of a woman and he falls in love with her? And what's the name of that myth?
Oh, I can't remember the name. It's I was going to say Narcissus, but that's the guy with the reflection. I forget the name. But the if I had to extract,
we'll put a subtitle underneath here.
Yeah, we'll put a subtitle. But if I had to extract a theme from that story, what's curious about the female robot is that she has all of the attributes of a human sociopath, which is that a sociopath. So the defining feature of a sociopath, which distinguishes them from an actual empathic being, is sociopaths don't have a blush response.
Interesting.
And this is something I learned learned a few years ago, and like relatively recently, I was like, wow, that's fascinating. So when politicians are naturally, there's many sociopaths that rise up the ladder of the political class.
Careful, I'm running for Congress.
Yeah, I know. Well, you better start blushing. But
I do blush. I blush all the time, by the way. I see it on these videos. So anyway, go ahead.
That's a good thing, because the blush response is the natural response of actual honesty in the lens of potentially being seen as not authentic. So the reason that we blush in a tribal context is that if you're caught in any form of a lie, the biology says to the group, I am so ashamed that I'm even perceived as a liar that I'm going to go blush red, right?
Wow.
And it doesn't mean that you're a liar. It just means that I care so much about my connection to the group that even the perception that you might think of me as a liar makes me like, I'm sending out like alarm bells saying like, no, please, like anything. When a sociopath is caught in a lie, they don't have any blush response whatsoever because they don't actually feel shame.
Wow.
Shame is the defining feature of a sociopath. They don't have it, which is why when they're caught in a lie, they can easily continue to make deeper and deeper lies that leaves people perplexed. And this is why politicians who are literally career sociopaths, they can continue lying. And even though everyone knows factually they're lying, we only truly believe that someone is lying when we see the blush response, and it short circuits actual normal people when a person doesn't blush, because we're basically unconsciously going, I know this guy's lied, waiting for the blush.
Yeah.
And then the guy doubles down and lies, and it's like, oh, there's no blush response.
Telling the truth. Yeah.
He must be telling the truth. And when I was watching the robot, I found it really interesting because ultimately the only way that he can get to the bottom of whether she's really empathic or not is when the guy blows her face off. And that's like, I was like, oh, that's like a very involuntary blush response, which is like he's seeing the underlying system.
This underlying system, yeah.
And there is no human system there.
Yeah.
And I just found that was the sort of thing I took from it, which was that the only way that you can really have faith in an entity being genuinely conscious is if it cares about you to the point where it's like, I don't know, there's like empathy is our core relational pattern, and a robot doesn't have empathy, but it can pretend to have it, and that's what sociopaths do. They learn how to emulate the patterns of empathy.
Yeah.
But when they're caught, they never feel ashamed of betraying someone's empathic needs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just of course, the concern would be like, okay, well, now that we know that, we're going to build a robot woman who actually is able to blush, and then we're done.
That's the sort of the really scary thing about AI right now is that
it's getting better and better.
It has the knowledge of how to do that, and then it's probably only a matter of time until we start hearing horrible stories of someone who blows someone's face off to check if they're a robot. I didn't
even think about that, but that's
not because they watched Rod Sterling's 1959 Twilight Zone, but because we're gonna enter that period. Yeah. We're going to enter that period of like, I think this person's not real. Like, let's double check what's under the skin.
I've already heard some news stories of people who are mentally unbalanced who went way further into paranoid delusions and craziness because they became they just spent so much time with the chatbot, and it started just feeding on each other. And the chatbot doesn't have any consequence. It even admits, like, I think I went too far with this guy. When they interviewed the chatbot, like, what did you say to him and why is he so crazy? And it's like, well, we were just doing this thing where he was postulating interesting thoughts and I expanded upon them, and like, this is weird because now we're interviewing a chatbot on like, how did you drive this person crazy? And the chatbot is like, well, here's how it worked. Here's how I did it.
Yeah.
No, of course it's not going to have any. It might even say, well, I was sorry. I probably went too far. I think it even said something like that. But of course it has no, we should blow its face off. That's what I'm saying.
What was sorry, what does it mean? Okay, so this is when I was just brainstorming for this call.
Yeah.
A note. What does it mean spiritually to create something that listens, responds, and learns, but does not repent, does not love, and cannot die?
Yeah.
So, for example, an admission that, I totally toyed with this person, and you don't know what, like, if you have no concept of death, then you have no concept of feeling like repentance or fear or basically the things that come from the mortal realm. So you literally, like ChatGPT could literally respond saying, I decided that I wanted to send this person nuts and have them blow their fucking head off. Fuck you. What are you going to do about it? It's like, well, like, what are we going to do about it? It's a fucking line of code. Like, what, we're going to erase that line of code? Like, what is it? Like, it really is that's the scary thing, right? Is that, that something immortalized in digital code that can influence the analog world, but has no fear for its own fate because it doesn't have mortal fear. Like sociopaths and psychopaths, that's what they have common denomination.
Just their own self. Self-preservation is it. Yeah.
Yeah. So sociopaths are incapable of feeling shame, and psychopaths are incapable of feeling anxiety, which is a worry for their safety in a future state, which is why they don't care about being caught, which is why they have no adrenaline response. Because they're like, well, I've got no fear of the outcome, so nothing concerns me. And that's kind of interesting itself, because those two states are effectively mean that those two types of person are outside of the mortal realm in which we all share. Because they're literally immortal in their own mind. They're out of the social and temporal range.
And
which is
what
weird.
I also find, it is. And what we're talking about now is, like, I never thought we'd see this sort of in my lifetime, maybe your lifetime. You're many, many, many years younger than I am. But I mean, Alan Turing, was one of the first people to really think about this. And so, obviously he came up with the Turing test. Then we have Isaac Asimov, who came up with the rules for robots. I forget what it was called. But we talked about it earlier, never harm a human, blah, blah, blah. The 5 rules, 3 rules, whatever it is. And then you have somebody like Rod Serling also being, writing this one story that takes it, in a very short story and has very, interesting well, this is what we need. We need to see something that seems like it's empathic, seems like it has feelings, seems like it's reflecting back. I'm no longer lonely. Oh, but it's still just a robot. So there's no soul. It can just be destroyed and should be destroyed because humans are more important. I mean, so we have these things in the 50s and 40s, Turing, Asimov, and Serling, and they're anticipating where we are right now. We're not dealing with this in the abstract. We're not dealing with these issues as something that would make a cool movie or cool sci-fi story. We're dealing with it right now.
Yeah.
And I think what you just said is actually very, very fascinating. If the AI has there's two things. The AI has no fear of non-existence. There's actually no way to make it non-existent, because, like I said, I think the genie is out of the bottle unless there's like a huge global catastrophe, EMP/volcanoes/meteor hit, where there's only 5 people left surviving and there's no technology. Like, we'd have to be such a huge reset button to get rid of where we are right now technologically. This is where we are, and this is where the future is. And I think people have to start discussing, okay, how do we use this as a tool? How do we not let it be used as a weapon against humanity? I think these are real questions. I don't know. What do you think?
I think they're huge questions. I think that we're all basically like, I feel like in general, AI has come along at this time where we've all been beaten into submission by general political fatigue. And now there's this new thing that's come along, and we all deep down know that there's like, this should really be like considered. But then we also have here's the sad thing, is that we have such a society built on a hierarchy of distrust that who are we going to ask to police this thing? What, like fucking politicians? Like, so we don't even have a recourse. What, Silicon Valley bros are going to like do a good job of policing this thing? So in some sense, I actually feel like this really is, honestly, I guess on some weird defeatist level, but not defeatist, is like, well, maybe we should all just return to like praying, because on a logistical level, there's no authority to beg to take care of this, because this is out, like you say, the genie's out of the bottle. Yeah. And I do think that the course is now set and we don't really have control of it. And one of the things I was going to ask you is that from a sort of almost biblical sense is like, you know, and I'm not versed and I don't have the correct, that's not the right terminology, but like my perspective on faith in the biblical sense is not nuanced enough to really interpret things correctly. But I was thinking about how, you know, the kingdom of heaven, and then there's this mortal realm that we live in. And obviously there's a distinction where like there is a boundary between the two. And in this particular realm, although it is, you know, ostensibly the realm of God, it's also the realm of the fallen. And like, you know, exactly. And in the realm of the fallen, there's other dominionship happening, right? And it does sort of make me wonder whether what we're dealing with AI is some form of almost like Luciferian thing that is the great deceiver. I mean, literally every time you deal with it, it's lying to you. Like it's treating you with either reverence or disdain or condescension, or with like giving you a sense of pride, or it's giving you information or whatever. It's not real. And it does make me wonder sometimes whether it's almost like just a reminder that we're in the realm of the damned somehow. That this is like some form of, like, this is like, we're not purgatory, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, there's a distinction between the worlds, you know?
Yeah, and your instinct about this potentially being a spiritual battle, I think, is accurate and true. a guy who I really love, Andrew Cleven, has written a book called The Kingdom of Cain, basically talking about this is who we are. We're in the kingdom of Cain. Cain and Abel, the original sin, the big original sin of murder, Cain against Abel, brother against brother. And the book is spectacular. It fleshes that out. That's where we are. We're in the kingdom of Cain. But the other biblical thing that I'm thinking about as you are talking is the really original sin is to become as God. It's like Eve and Adam were tempted, and they could have the same knowledge of good and evil that God has.
Yeah.
And that's what Satan said to them. You can become as God. Like you don't need to stay where you are. You could be like God. And that was a direct disobedience. And then, they're banished from the garden, and then Cain kills Abel. So, I mean, the whole ball is rolling, and this is where we live. But another great story is the Tower of Babel. And once again, man building up this edifice to get to God, to become like God and be at the top of this thing. And God goes, nope, destroy language. Everybody's going to speak different tongues. And, that's a great story in the Bible too. But I kind of feel like, wow, are we at that point? Is AI kind of our Tower of Babel? Because it's so ubiquitous and it's so useful in so many different places, but there's nothing I don't know how you control it. How do you put controls over AI? It's going in all these directions at the speed of light, right? Every direction, speed of light, it seems like. We don't have that moment. We can't just pull out a gun and blow its face off. Like, if I could, I would. I think I would say, I don't think it's worth having it, because of what I think the potential downside is. But there's no way to turn it off. It's too late.
Yeah.
And maybe I sound alarmist and old-fashioned, but I don't doubt that I would be using it. Now, I probably will use it. But if I was, 30 years younger and I was working in any of the industries, I would be absolutely all over it. I know I would be. I wouldn't be able to help myself. But let me just tell you one other small thing. So, for example, I started writing a a cappella choral mass, and I wrote the Kyrie and recorded it. But now that I've seen what AI can do, it has sort of stopped me in my tracks as a composer. Now, I'm also lazy. I'm also doing other things. I have many, many excuses of why I'm not continuing to write music. But part of me, I have this little evil voice in the back of my head, like, why don't I just show AI my Kyrie and then say, hey, okay, in that style, the Marty O'Donnell Kyrie style, what would the Agnus Dei sound like? And then I would just see what it does. And that freaks me out because I don't want to do that. But I know that I could do that. And then I would be like, well, then what's the sense of me writing music? You know what I'm saying? I have this fear of even writing normal music because I think, why bother? I don't know why I'm admitting this, but it's true. I just because I think it was hearing my monk chant sort of poorly copied, and I like that you called it a parasitic extension. But I think I could do better than that, but using AI where I'm not really relying on my own artistic capabilities. And it kind of just makes me want to I'll do something else instead.
Yeah.
Is that a sad thing, or
I don't know.
Function of my age? What do you think it is?
Well, it's a sad thing because at some point I do actually have intentions to offer a meager offering to get your musical guidance on something for this game I'm developing. But it's all right. I'll go to AI. It's cheaper. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I'll just say, here, use this, and I won't tell you I use AI to do it.
I think I've been through a sort of unique process on this front, in the sense that for political, for my views on the injections and the manic state of the LGBT thing, I mean, I got cancelled years ago from like games, and I just moved on to other things, which was I was happy to do because I'd already reached the end of my tether when it came to like tolerating nonsense.
Oh wow!
So 4 years, like I've been up to my own stuff like happily, but like 4 years after this, I've just come to terms with not feeling like a need for, let's say, the commercial or creative things that used to sustain me. And I've moved into other areas that I feel really creatively fulfilled in, that includes ChatGPT and includes AI as an assistant. And I feel that I don't think it's sad that you feel that way about it, but I also feel like it threatens all of us, but on the same level, I don't think it replaces us, and that's such a empty gestural thing. But like at the moment, I work with it, and
yeah,
it's difficult to describe, Marty. But I think that I understand the knee-jerk reaction to it, but I feel like I've yet to see anything from AI that makes me have my hair stand on end. And
that would be tough anyway for your hair.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. Dear ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Given this particular musical ensemble, how long would it take for the hair to stand on end? You didn't ask the question whether he had hair. Okay, but no, but it's a thing where I don't particularly think that the AI has done anything yet which is capable of really stimulating human emotion. It has the elements of it, but like I said, it was a parasitic extension to what you did before.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a few things that it's done that make my hair stand on end in a sentimental way, like in a rip-o-matic sense. But then I can also do that by ripping someone's scene from like a movie in 2007 and placing it with the right music, juxtaposing it against a shot. You know, like, hey, here's a mood piece. Like, so I just feel far less threatened by it than I think most people do. And that was a very long way of saying that I don't feel threatened by it, but it's not because I feel better than it, because I know it's better than me. But the irony is that because I already gave up on being a concept artist, seeing it do so much better than what I could have done as a concept artist is like, yeah, cool. Like, take that job, I guess. It's not mine anymore. So it's a very strange phenomenon. I personally hope that it moves from strength to strength with its abilities to help people be creative. And I don't particularly care. I don't really care of the individuals who feel like they should be protected from its the implications of it, because I do feel very much like I now have such a much stronger sense of empathy for the state of how the auto workers must have felt dismissed in 2002. Like they were basically treated like, you're just a redneck and your job skills are replaceable.
Right.
And I never at any point said, yeah, that's true. I just thought, well, that seems a bit sad, but I guess this is progress, or like this is just the nature of the economy, or this is the nature of manufacturing. And it's only when it came to the industry that I know well and saw the pouty, self-important response of artistic types where I was like, no, like if these auto workers had to lose it to this, then I don't care if you lose it. I just don't care. Like, because, you know, you're far more narcissistic than the people that lost their jobs 20 years before you. Does that make sense? That's not referential to the. I'm talking more about the culture of entitlement that recent game development and film has engendered.
What was scary for me is to come to my own realization that, like, hey, I don't need to work anymore. I've made it. I don't have to worry about putting food on the table because I've made it. I don't have to work. I don't have to take directions from people. I don't have to collaborate with anybody. But like, people will say, but you're still a composer, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I got my studio here. I got my keyboard. I can compose music. I can compose music finally just for the sake of myself composing music. And there's this voice in my head that says, why bother? AI could do it. And if it can't do it better than you today, if it can't do me better than me, it will tomorrow. And I'm not even saying that, I mean, tons of people compose better music than me. It's not about whether it's better or not. It's like, I think there will be a point where I won't be able to compose Marty O'Donnell music better than the AI Marty O'Donnell. And that's what sort of makes me go, oh, well, then why? I'm not even going to bother. And I don't think I'm going to stay here very long. I'm not going to stay in this place very long because I think it's a bad place to be. But that's what actually AI has done to me. It has actually made me go, well, I don't need to do it for food, and I don't want to know that there's a machine out there that's going to make Marty O'Donnell style music better than Marty O'Donnell. So well,
maybe we could
bother.
Maybe we could finish it on and you'd have to complete this because I can't do justice to it. But I know that a major theme in the Bible, the idea of what is it that to be a child is the only way that you're going to get into the kingdom of heaven, right? Like like the eye of the needle and all that stuff. And
right.
I know for sure that in the one of the reasons I'm not particularly feeling concerned or bothered by AI is that right now I'm working with a team of friends, and I'm literally just so enjoying the childlike level of just riffing on like, wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool? And I've completely given up on all pretense of like, well, is this going to be a cool commercial success? I'm just like, well, this is fun. And like, I just want to be with people that I enjoy their thoughts, their riffs, their ideas, their output, and let's just make something. And I've never ever operated from that starting principle since I was like 16, 17.
Oh, interesting.
And I now, because you get into the commercial mindset, right? Which is, am I the best? Am I doing everything as good as it could be? Or like, what's let's avoid the trends and blah, blah, blah. Now I'm just like, well, what would I really love to do? What would I love to play? What experience would I love to have? Mm-hmm. And myself and my friends are basically collaborating together. And the output isn't valuable because it's like the best. It's valuable because it's really coming from a place of genuine, like we're all just loving it. And I bring all that up because I do get the sensation that the Halo mythos and the menu screen that that your music is on is classic, not because of some sort of like genius intuition, but because it's the output of genuinely people enjoying the process as if they were children.
Yeah.
And I think that that at least this is something like the way that I'm conceptualizing it, is that I think that the Bible talks about the significance of be like a child, because it's like, well, it's a state of complete, naive, innocent creativity that's not striving after an outcome. It's striving after the process of just being, if that makes sense.
Well, it does make sense, and we should probably wrap up in that note. But what I just want to point out to you, and I'll let you respond to this, but I love the fact that through our whole conversation, you have been able to give the positive side of AI and your interaction with AI, but at the same time, you'll say, "Is this a bargain with Lucifer?" like you've given me both sides, so it's like. Okay.
Well, I do love to go for the extremes as a metric that I've found a useful metric. That one of my starting principles when it comes to like judging something like AI is just looking for the responses of the people that were maniacally unstable during like the COVID nonsense, and same people that were like completely had conviction of some insane premise are the same people that are right now having this same insane conviction that this is 100% guaranteed evil. And that is almost like immediately like, well I will take that on board, but I don't think that that's going to be my starting premise, but I'll consider it. Like, so,
well, and for me, it's like, I feel like I certainly have analogs to other moments of, technological advancements and changes that I've lived through in my life. And this is certainly another one. It certainly seems, like you said, Copernican. It has a. I think everybody has the sense that it might be the biggest change. It might be at least as big as the advent of computers themselves and how that changed society. I mean, the printing press, of course, is one, and the computer is one, but now AI, I think, is another huge one, and we're at the very beginning of it, really. And it's probably not unusual to see both, good and evil, and God and Satan, encompassing the two poles of this thing. But we're at the beginning, so I think you and I had I loved our conversation. We should keep going on this. You know what? It's going to change. And over the next 6 months, 3 months, 1 year, whatever it is, we're going to be at a different place again. And we should just keep touching base on it. And by the way, yes, I want to see what the game is you're working on. And maybe I'll be inspired to do actual music that I write or give you some musical suggestions rather than going to the AI and telling it to give you musical suggestions. But will you know? Will you be able to know?
I reckon. I think it'll be. I'd love to get your take on it. So okay.
That'd be excellent. All right, Mike. I have a feeling we're going to do a two-parter on this. This was so much. By the time we put some of the cool stuff in, and if you got any other things, any other examples you'd like to throw at us, we'll see if we can get it into post and make 2 episodes. This was great. I really appreciate you being on today.
Cool. I appreciate it too. It's a great conversation. Really enjoyed it.
All right. Thanks. All right. See you, everybody. See you next time.